Let's talk about Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens was and probably still is an extreme guy. When he was playing, he threw harder than everyone else, he was bigger than everyone else, and he won more Cy Young awards than everyone else. Clemens was explosive as he hit opposing batters on purpose, he fought his managers, and he once threatened to assault Hank Aaron. Yes, that Hank Aaron. So you can understand why his nickname was the Rocket. It clearly was a reference to both his pitching speed and, of course, his wild outbursts. Yes, Clemens could be intimidating and volatile and aggressive, but he was also one of the most dominant pitchers of his era, if not all time. However, in spite of his unbelievable success on the field, Clemens' career has been overshadowed by controversy and scandal, turning what was a definite first ballot Hall of Fame career into sort of an outcast from the game of baseball. So let's jump in to his major league career and some of the important events that it brought us. So on May 11th, 1984, Clemens was called up to the majors. Fans and the media were buzzing with excitement over the young righty with all the hype. However, Clemens' debut was less than stellar. He lasted 5 2/3 innings, allowing 11 hits and striking out just 4. And he walked off the field to like 4,000 fans in attendance, showering him with insults. But Clemens rebounded quickly in his next start, a 7-inning effort in Minnesota that Boston won 5-4. And for the rest of his rookie year, Clemens was a pretty solid starter. Then we jump to the 1986 season, which is historically a great year for Roger Clemens. Across 33 starts, he racked up 24 wins, posted a 2.48 ERA, and struck out 238 batters. He was the unanimous vote for AL Cy Young. Clemens had been so good, in fact, that the writers decided to name him the American League MVP, making him the first starting pitcher to win the award since 1971. Although not everyone thought he was worthy of the honor, Hank Aaron, a Hall of Famer and an MVP in his own right, as we know, was one of the opinion that since position players couldn't win the Cy Young, so pitchers shouldn't be able to win the MVP. This isn't like an uncommon argument, and it makes a lot of sense and didn't really have anything to do with Clemens, so much as the principle of the award. That's all Hank Aaron was trying to express. Nevertheless, the Rocket took it personally and said that he wished Aaron was still playing so he could, quote, crack his head open to show him how valuable he was. This would have been controversial to say about literally anyone, but to threaten Hank Aaron, a man who, for all intents and purposes, a baseball saint, that was literally unforgivable. So the press obviously lit into Clemens, and his role as WWE heel was firmly cemented very early on in his career. He thrived, though, on negativity because he went 20-9 in 1987 and struck out 256 batters and won his second Cy Young. So the legend of Roger Clemens grew, and so did his ego. Sticking with the WWE heel theme, Roger handed out signed photos of himself while he insisted that people call him the Rocket. Even his kids' names were a reference to his strikeouts, all starting with the letter K. He put WWE heel in real life because, as we know, WWE is predetermined, but Roger Clemens just didn't know that. And so, also, the fans criticized him for complaining about having to carry his own bags. His teammates criticized him for his me first attitude. And even fought with the groundskeepers. But Rogers was still one of the best pitchers in the league, but a fan favorite he definitely was not, hence the WWE heel moniker. Roger Clemens, now 35 years old, and is the ace in the Toronto Blue Jays staff and a surefire Hall of Famer. Started taking steroids, which Roger obtained himself, and it wasn't long before Clemens was taking steroids on a regular basis. Every 4 days at first, then every 3. It was almost always in his apartment, and it was always away from his teammates and coaches. By season's end, his fastball was hitting 100 miles per hour at age 35 years old. He'd won 20 games and received his record 5th Cy Young Award. So Roger Clemens then was traded to the Yankees, the winningest team in baseball, in 1999. Fast forward to the World Series, where the Yankees won the first 3 games against the Atlanta Braves. Clemens got the ball in Game 4, and he delivered, and New York won the World Series. It may have taken him 15 years, but Roger Clemens finally had that ring and sort of cemented his legacy as a potentially first ballot Hall of Famer, even amidst some of the controversy and things of that nature. And so in the 2000 season, Yankees would advance to yet another World Series, this time against the crosstown Mets in the Subway Series. There was one particular Met who had Clemens' number. His name was Mike Piazza. Everyone loves Mike Piazza. Piazza faced Roger Clemens 22 times in his career, and over that span, he possessed a 421 batting average, 421 batting average, and 4 home runs. Yes, of course, we know it's a small sample size, but for sure, Piazza was dialed in, very dialed in against Clemens. Again, one of the best pitchers in the game, maybe not of all time. So having a 421 batting average is good regardless really of the sample size. 21 at-bats or 22 at-bats is quite a lot. So perhaps that was why on July 8th, 2000, Clemens threw a fastball straight at Mike Piazza's head. The Mets were obviously outraged, while the Yankees really struggled to defend their pitcher's actions to hit someone in the head on purpose, hit someone in the head on purpose, throwing 100 miles an hour while taking steroids. So Piazza was diagnosed with a concussion and missed the All-Star game, obviously unsurprisingly. By the time the World Series came around, which is what we're talking about, many wondered what would happen in the Clemens-Piazza rematch. Again, Clemens being the WWE heel that he is, and really just an extreme guy, which we mentioned at the top, we didn't really have to wait long to find out. Clemens jammed Piazza with an inside fastball, and his bat snapped, sending the barrel towards the mound. You think most people would have left it at that and move on to the next pitch. Unfortunately, Roger Clemens had a reputation to uphold. The barrel of the bat flew back at Roger Clemens, and he fired the bat back towards Piazza, who was going down the first base line. Clemens wasn't ejected for throwing a baseball bat at another human being, but he told the ump that he thought it was the ball, which is a claim that's so laughable, you could be excused for thinking he was joking, right? In a career full of hit batters, of media feuds, and on-field blowups, this was easily the biggest scandal and the worst thing that Roger Clemens had faced so far. He literally threw a broken bat at another human being running down the first base line and claimed that he thought it was the baseball. A barrel of a bat and a baseball do not look the same whatsoever. And so Clemens ended up winning 2 World Series titles with the Yankees. In 2004, Clemens signed with the Houston Astros, his hometown team, at the age of 42. He led the Astros to the 2005 World Series, but did not win the championship. Clemens would remain with Houston for several years, earning his 7th Cy Young Award in 2004. In 2007, after a 24-year career that spanned 4 different teams, Clemens retired from baseball. Roger Clemens is without a doubt, one of the most dominant and accomplished pitchers in Major League Baseball history. Clemens won the Cy Young Award a record 7 times, almost like Barry Bonds' 7 MVP awards. Also, here are some career stats to highlight. He had 354 wins, which is 9th all-time. He had 4,672 strikeouts, which is 3rd all-time. He had an ERA of 3.12, which is exceptional for a pitcher who played so long in the hitter-friendly era of the late 1980s to the 2000s, where basically, all the big power hitters were on steroids. And he career pitched 4,916 innings in his career. But when we talk about Clemens, the Clemens name became predominantly linked to steroids after his involvement in the Mitchell Report in 2007, which was a comprehensive investigation into the use of PEDs in baseball. Clemens denied using steroids or human growth hormones, HGH, throughout his career. However, he was accused by his former trainer, Brian McNamee, who claimed to have injected Clemens with steroids and HGH several times during the 1998 through 2001 seasons. McNamee testified in the Mitchell Report and during a congressional hearing that Clemens had used PEDs, or performance-enhancing drugs. Then in January of 2008, Clemens appeared on 60 Minutes to address the report. He insisted that his longevity was due to hard work, not PEDs. He also sued McNamee for defamation, and then that February of 2008, the two men were summoned before Congress. They confirmed that Andy Pennant told them that Clemens took HGH in 1999 or 2000. Those are the years the Yankees won the World Series. Clemens told them that Pennant must have just misremembered what happened. Over the remainder of the 4-hour hearing, he stumbled over his words, interrupted others, and accused his former trainer, McNamee, of lying. Truly Truly, at any point, I think at any point, Roger could have admitted wrongdoing and everything probably would have gone away, but he kept digging a deeper and deeper hole. People just want the truth. And if he had come clean at that point, we may have seen him in the Hall of Fame now. I don't know, but his image may be different than it is now, but he kept digging a deeper and deeper grave. Clemens' legal battles continued for years. In 2012, he was tried for perjury, accused of lying to Congress about his alleged steroid use. He was acquitted of all charges, but the case left just a dark cloud over his legacy and his career. In 2013, in his first year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame, Roger Clemens received 37.6% of the votes, far short of the 75% required for induction, and he would never get more than 65 and fell off the ballot in 2022. Roger Clemens has never publicly admitted to taking steroids. Even if he did, it's not clear that they would do him any good at this point. At this point, I think the hole is too deep to dig yourself out of. Sure, he still has his money, his cars, his clothes, his house, but the respect of his peers, the love of his fans, and his legacy may be lost possibly for good. I think it is. However, with that said, Clemens is still one of the best players ever, and it's called the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Ethics. And the best players to ever do it should be in the Hall, whether or not they're liked by their fans or their peers. The same can be said about Barry Bonds, who is the greatest player of all time. Yes, Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds were not liked by the fans, the media, their peers, anyone while they were playing. I think Barry Bonds is much liked now because he seems like just a really good guy now and cares about what's going on and has talked a lot about his career and how he approaches the game and his mentality. It's been really beautiful to see on social media. I don't really know what Roger Clemens is doing now. I know he's been involved with his kids and their careers and potentially the University of Texas and things of that nature. But it doesn't really matter that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were unliked by their peers or their colleagues. Again, it's not the Hall of Ethics. It's the Hall of Fame. And undoubtedly, by the numbers, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are two of the best players to ever live. So you take David Ortiz, for example, who had alleged steroid use in 2003, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2022, and most people ignore that because he is well liked by his peers and fans. People like David Ortiz, so it doesn't matter that he took steroids or alleged to took steroids or didn't take steroids or did or not, whatever. He was voted into the Hall of Fame in 2022. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are leaps and bounds better than David Ortiz. So being an asshole should not be criteria for keeping players out of the Hall of Fame. Being liked or disliked isn't criteria for keeping players out of the Hall of Fame, especially if they are some of the best to ever do it. And so that's what I think about that and Roger Clemens' career and maybe a little bit about the Hall of Fame. So I'd love to know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for your time and attention, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.